Hey, this is Mariela from The Functional Company. All right, so how do you know if you have blood sugar problems? So this is something I emphasize once, twice, and over again because this is such a big piece of the overall health puzzle. And one of the biggest ways to know whether or not you have any blood sugar problems is if you have sugar cravings, if you can't go too long without another meal or without a snack, like if you go 3 or 4 hours and you start to feel really cranky, that's already an indicator. So it could happen a few times, but it's really not something that we want to have consistently over time because it's going to lead to worse and worse problems, especially because usually with the crankiness comes, there could come other symptoms. Some people get palpitations, anxiety, weakness, this kind of stuff. So all of those symptoms basically also cause the body to create more sugar or carbohydrates, very simple carbohydrates, because it's the thing that's going to bring the blood sugar up the fastest. It's going to make us feel better the fastest. So the body will ask for it. So now obviously we want to prevent that entire scene by making sure that we're eating enough fats and not too many carbohydrates. How many carbohydrates is going to vary depending on the person's activity, age, body composition, etc. I always say a good starting point is about 60 grams of carbohydrates, but you can kind of go up and down from there, just kind of depending on the person. But definitely there has to be enough fats, good fats in the diet in order to really sustain between one meal and the next. That's definitely where I've noticed that, my blood sugar can get a little funky is when I don't eat enough fat. But if I eat enough fat in my meals, and not too many carbohydrates, then it's very easy to go from one meal to the next. And if there's too much time in between meals, it doesn't really bother me because I've had enough fat. But if I don't have enough fat, and I don't have enough food in general, and then I try to go for a long period of time without eating, it can, cause a few symptoms. For me, I get a little bit cranky. It's just not fun to deal with for myself or anybody else. But what's great is that there's a very easy fix. And like I said, it's to make sure that you're getting enough fats with your meals, don't eat too many carbohydrates, and train the cells. We have to train the cells over time to learn to be more efficient at burning fat for fuel instead of sugar, so they can transition to that very easily, and we don't have to have snacks in between our meals, basically. And the whole point of this is not just so that we feel good in the immediate present and immediate and very near future, but because we really want to prevent these kinds of diseases like diabetes and complications of heart disease, poor circulation, hormonal problems, etc. All of that stuff is linked to blood sugar, because problems with blood sugar is going to have a huge effect on the hormones, and it's going to have a huge effect on our overall physiology and a body's ability to repair. So that's why I emphasize it over and over again. So the biggest telltale sign of blood sugar problems is going to be those carb or sugar cravings, and then also the fact that you can't go too long without a meal because you just start to feel either weak or cranky, you don't have good mental focus, you might have palpitations, anxiety. Any of those symptoms, doesn't have to be all of them, but any combination of those is going to be an indicator that there's some blood sugar problems going on. And like I said, they could happen a couple of times, but it really is not something that should be happening continuously, because it's going to lead us down the road of eating more carbohydrates, but then over time we're going to get into the pre-diabetes, diabetes phase, and all of the complications that go along with that. So that's the scenario that we definitely want to avoid, not to mention that we just want to optimize our mental focus, our mood, our energy, and that's how we're going to do it. We're going to have to eat enough fats and not too many carbohydrates, especially if you're vegetarian or vegan, but not only, right? But especially if people who are vegetarian and vegan tend to have to lean on more carbohydrates, and then, if you don't make sure you have enough fats, then you can start to have some blood sugar problems. But that's not isolated to only vegetarians and vegans. Of course, anybody can have those blood sugar problems. So that's the thing to look out for. If you have any of those symptoms, we want to remedy it by bringing down the overall carbohydrate count and making sure you're getting enough fats in your meals. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the flip side.